Hi all, it's the BTP guys here today, and we are actually going beyond the point. We are on Canvey Island at the point, and we're going to be venturing all the way out past the marshes onto the mudflats, and we're in search of parts of a plane that crashed here during the Second World War.
We are indeed. Only last week was the 75th anniversary of the B17 American plane crashing out here on the marshes here at Canvey Island. We've got a bit of a risky one today. We're going to go and try and find the wreckage, if there's anything left of it. A lot of it was pulled up and excavated by Gary Fowler back in the 1980s. It's possible that there's some bits and bobs still left. So we're going to go right out past the actual land itself into the mud. And we actually had a bit of a risky run-in at this place about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago.
When we first started in 2011, we came here, got here at low tide, started heading out, and then all the channels filled up and we struggled to get back. So we're here nice and early today. What could go wrong? Yeah,
fingers crossed. So here at the start of Canvey Point, somewhere out here on the marshes here, used to be the site of a Roman red hill, which was deposits left by the Romans making salt, which they were known for, the salt industry in this area back in the Roman times. So Joe's just taken a few photos here of part of the original Canvey Island seawall that was constructed around a turn of the 17th century when the Dutch engineers came over to England to reclaim some of the marshland. So believe it or not, these wooden stumps and the chalk in the middle of it, these are actually nearly 400 years old. What's happened, this was just an earthen seawall originally. We've just walked past, we've just walked along it, but then as the erosions occurred, it stripped all the mud off the top and it's left the wooden stakes and the chalk inside it to form part of the structure of the wall left. So it's quite hard to believe that this wood here, as I say, it's 400 years old, and so is the chalk. And this runs right the way out to where we're headed. Some of it's washed away, some of it's surviving. So this here is where some of the Dutch seawall, it builds back up again where it's not been eroded, and you can see roughly it's still an actual solid earthen path. But then out here you can see the old field boundaries of the Dutch fields. I think a lot of them were used for sheep farming. I'm not sure how many years later they were used for, but they could have been used possibly up until Victorian times maybe. I'll have to check that. But you can actually see here where the marshland, when it was once farm fields, it was divided up into little rectangles. So you can see the lines there, and if you look from Google Earth, you can actually see the rectangles much clearer. We'd put a picture of that up as well. Joe's getting a few shots there.
The BTP Instagram.
Indeed. What is it? At BTP Boys?
It is.
Give it a follow. And we're going to carry on now, all the way out to the very point. So it looks like this little thing here is the memorial to two boys that died out here, drowned out here, which is quite worrying really, considering me and Joe actually did nearly drown out here as well. You know, it is easily done. You do have to be really careful doing this sort of thing, because it's a strip of land that comes out, the water just cuts you off out here. And look, if you look closer, you can see it says Bill, Dad and Mum on there. Something else, can't quite read it now. It used to be a lot clearer when we came here about, you know, 8 years ago or so. One's actually put a little flower down there and a bottle of Jägermeister. Yeah, there you go. Maybe they liked a few Jaeger bombs back in the day, but obviously it's quite a sad story really. and it is incredibly easy to get caught out here, as we found out. There's so many bits that get washed up. Me and Joe found this old Edwardian or Victorian sign out here years ago. I've just found this old plate washed up. Looks like some sort of old Bakelite type plastic thing. Look, what does it say on it? Gaydon Melnex. Some sort of company. With a little line on there. That's a weird, I mean, you can tell that it's proper old just by the look and feel of it. It's a really old sort of plastic, that. Now we're approaching Clock Bank, which is the area of mud in front of us. We've got Lee on sea over the other side. Now looking at some of Gary's photos from 1978, when they first went out to look at the wreckage, it sort of does line up with the exact view. We've got some office blocks in the background. You can see the old photo here. So I think we're in the right spot. And there's a lot of bits of metal all over it. There's all little bits sticking out the ground. So it does sort of suggest that the plane crash site was here in front of us. So we're going to go and take a look out there now. Hopefully we've actually found the right spot though.
So much rubbish and metal and piping gets washed up here. It's really quite hard to differentiate between what might be a plane and what might just be tap. So this is our first stop. We've still got a few more bits to look at, but yeah, there's lots of stuff around. When we get back, we're going to check this footage over and ask a few people that know more about this whether we've found the rough site or not. So we'll be able to confirm or, you know, falsify whether we've actually found the site of the plane or not. After speaking with Gary, the original excavator of the plane crash, after our visit, it would seem that we would have needed to venture out much further on the mud to reach the actual crash site of the B17. He explained that the local business, the Baker Brothers, were involved in the dismantling of landing craft after D-Day in the area we explored on the marshes, and it is possible that the high quantities of debris in the area we explored are remains of these activities dismantling the D-Day craft. It's quite treacherous out here, very easy to sink into the mud if you're not careful. Joe's just spotted something down here. Looks like an old electrical fitting, ceramic, I think that, isn't it? Yeah, look at that. What's it say? Made in England. Obviously, because the position here, you do get an awful lot getting washed up, so it's hard to differentiate between that and the plane crash. We just saw this, which we thought it could possibly be sort of like the reinforced sort of fuselage of the plane or something, but we've come closer and it's just made out of wood, so this looks actually more just like a shipwreck, and all the sides have gone and now we've just got the base of the shipwreck left behind. More piece of metal. Big bit of metal there with some sort of enamel paint on it. You right? Crab right now. Oh yeah. Little crabs. There's the underside of it. Who knows? Could be a bit of junk. Found this, but it just looks like an old shipwreck
Yeah, it just looks like an old shipwreck. It's all made out of timber, so that would suggest that it's obviously not.
I don't think it is. I think it's metal. You can see the rust.
Maybe.
No, I think you're right. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe looking at the edges.
The edges look like wood, but that's
a metal bit, isn't it? This is metal. Wonder if it's like bottom half is wood and then the top strip is like a metal beam.
or metal on the outside, wood in the middle or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look like that, doesn't it, actually? Like looking down here. Again, it does look... This sort of looks part wood there. But it could be part metal, but again, unless there was wooden parts on the plane, I suppose it must be something else. But and there's also this here, but again I think that's metal topped, but whether it's part of the plane or not, again we don't really know.
Car battery.
Looks like it, doesn't it? Does it not come out?
No, it's stuck.
Yeah, this looks quite modern, doesn't it? Some bit of old, no idea what that is. Some, yeah, big piece of curved metal. But then also got like this modern looking pipe with high-vis texture still on it, and an old, yeah, car battery or something, Joe reckons. Doesn't look that old, really. It's hard to tell, but I reckon that's more modern. Joe's found a glass bottle with something written on it.
Looks like it says
Yeah.
Southend Banks. I can't read what that says. There you are.
Yeah. Local piece of glassware.
All of this debris here is all scattered around this area, and other than that there's not actually that much around, so we're assuming it is somewhere here, but we're not sure specifically where.
Now we're just thinking here, Gary said to look out for a channel going along after the point, which is back there, and then after the channel there's a mud bank, and you go down it and over it and there's sand, and we can actually see there's a mud bank in the distance, as he called it, Seagull Island, and it does look as if there's sand along the top of it. But the problem is, if that is the site, the tide is coming in by the looks of it now. This sort of channel's starting to fill up a bit, and we are right out in the middle of nowhere, so we need to get back to shore soon, and to risk actually going further out I think is going to be a bit too risky, to be honest. So we may have to venture back here some other time to check out the last bit, if that is it. Bit of old pottery there with some glazed lettering on it.
So it would seem we didn't venture out far enough into the Thames waters to find the site where the B17 American Flying Fortress crashed in 1944 at Canvey Point. However, what we did find was equally as intriguing. Aside from the ceramics and other interesting items, we found the metal and timber wreckages of what could possibly have been D-Day landing craft moored on the marshes after the invasions. Who knows what else the point has buried under its murky surface?